Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Central Coast Currents, right here on your community television station. Now, we have a good program today, but we're looking for a host, and that would be Steve Elzy, and here I am. Welcome. Hey, thanks for bringing us into your home. We have a terrific show for you today. We are going to talk about something that affects 16.5 million high school students. That's high school athletics, and a very important part and a crucial part of athletics is the coaching. And we're going to talk about a new movement called Transformational Coaching. I have two guests here, and they are involved in this. They are local, and I want to welcome them into the studio. We have Dan Powers and Buck Rogeman. I'm going to put them on camera in just a moment. You are going to love this program, though. Okay, and here we are. Dan, Buck, welcome.
Thanks a lot, Steve.
Sure.
Thank you for having us.
All right. Transformational coaching. I've heard the name Joe Ehrmann. And Buck, tell us a little bit about Mr. Ehrmann.
Well, about 4 years into my coaching career at PG High, someone handed me a book, and that book was called Season of Life. And Joe Ehrmann was the subject of the book by Jeffrey Marks, and it wound up being a New York Times bestseller, and Jeffrey Marks went on to win a Pulitzer Prize for it. But the amazing thing about the book wasn't how much it sold or the awards that the book won, but it was the life that Joe Ehrmann was leading. He started off as a community organizer in the Baltimore area, and he started to use the things that he had learned doing that kind of work as he went on to coach at Gilman Prep. And he became a football coach there, and he was different than a lot of coaches. And the thing that made his program so special was that he really focused on the relationships that his players were able to form with each other, as opposed to trying to win or lose football games. That he saw as his main purpose as a football coach, that he wanted to transform the lives of the people that were playing for him. And that was a message that really resonated with me and validated all of the positive things that I had been doing with our football team at that time, and sort of opened up the door for me to go even further with it. So that eventually I never even really had to talk about winning or losing with our players again, but we talked more about the relationships that they could build with each other, and the whole concept of playing out of a love for each other rather than a fear of failure. And once our guys started to do that, you could just see, the pressure lifted from their shoulders. You could see the team chemistry really build, and it was something that not only transformed my role as a coach, but I also think kind of helped to transform the experience that our players had playing at PG High.
Dan, there was another book that you and I have spoken about. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, I also read Season of Life after kind of witnessing what was happening in Buck's program. I was the varsity boys basketball coach at Pacific Grove High School and still am, and I really got to see up close what was happening with our kids and what kind of the ideas within a Season of Life were doing for them. And then last year, Coach Ehrmann wrote a new book called Inside Out Coaching, and I got a chance to read it last year and adopt more of the philosophy in regards to what he does on a day-to-day basis. In Season of Life, it's really about the story of Gilman, and then it's also a story really about Jeffrey Marks and kind of his relationship with his father, and kind of how Coach Ehrmann brought a lot of different ideas in terms of that. In Inside Out Coaching, we get to see a lot more of the up-close, kind of personal ways that you can impact kids.
Well, thank you, Dan. Now, Buck, I'm wondering, what are the tenets of transformational coaching?
Well, really the most important thing is that you take it from a focus on the performance of the kids on the field to the ability for them to build quality relationships with each other. And sports is such a powerful platform to work through, and the role of a coach is such an important one in kids' lives, that it really lends itself to being able to teach the kids that the most important thing that's going to happen in your life is going to be the quality of the relationships that you can build with the people who are in your life. That eventually, as we get older, It's not going to matter how many cars that we have. It's not going to matter like how big our house is. But what's really going to matter are the quality of the relationships that you have in your life. Are you a good husband? Are you a good father? Do you have good quality friendships that you can rely on? And one of the things that Coach Ehrman talks about is trying to build men of empathy and integrity who will lead, be responsible, and make a positive change. And those are the kinds of things that we try to teach our kids, at PG High with the football program. And I think our kids really, really listened. And one of the things that they started to do was take a lot of pride in each other. So instead of, playing hard for themselves and the different kind of, like the little smidge of glory that you can get from playing high school football, that wasn't nearly as important with our kids as making a great effort for this guy standing next to me. And they really started to show the qualities of love for each other that sort of signify what is a great relationship.
That's so different from when I played football at Bellarmine. I got to tell you, it's completely different.
I can imagine so.
And I welcome this because, I actually had to step away from the program because it got so violent and it was so much about winning. And my brain wasn't there at that point. And I wanted to ask you then, Dan, what about success then? What is success in terms of coaching with transformational philosophy?
Well, I think a lot of people think today that success is just defined by winning. And I think that permeates in our culture right now, is that if you turn on ESPN, you turn on sports talk radio, it's really defined by winning. And I would say at the professional level, that's probably true. But I think where we've lost it is at the amateur, high school, youth levels, that really sports is not totally about winning. Success at the youth level, high school level, it should be more about the process. And it should be more about the process of what you do on a day-to-day basis to become a champion, not only in that sport, but in life. And so what we try to do is we define success more about, are you working to your potential? Are you trying to be the best person first? And then maybe the best athlete that you can be. But it's much more about the process of becoming a champion and more about this long-term life success that you can have by committing yourself to a cause bigger than yourself.
One of the things that's been kind of neat about that, too, is that as we took the emphasis off of winning and losing games and focusing on, the quality of the relationships that the kids had with each other, that you really saw the kids come together as a team, and as a result, the winning wound up being kind of a byproduct of that positive relationships that kids were able to have with each other. And I know even from my dad's life, and my dad played pro football with the Bears back from 1955 to 1957, kind of reached the highest level of that sport. But all of the fond memories that my dad has from playing for the Bears back in the 1950s has everything to do with the friendships that he formed while he was playing with the Bears. He hardly ever talks about the games that they won or the outcome. It's more those interpersonal stories that he has with the friendships that he built while he was playing for the Bears. So I think that even at the highest level, as those guys are done playing for 5, 10, 15 years, that what they really take away from the sport too are the quality of the friendships that they were able to build.
So relationships really are so key in this. And then there's another word that I've seen in the books, and that's empathy. How do you go about teaching empathy to students, to athletes? How do you do that?
Well, I think sports, and that's what Coach Ehrman talks a lot about. Sports is maybe the greatest vehicle to teach empathy to young people. Because it makes them get involved in an event that is bigger than themselves. And that's one of the biggest things about empathy, is that you understand what other people feel. Yeah, it just goes beyond just, I can see that person's in pain. It's actually understanding that pain or understanding the reasons for that pain. And so in sports, it's a small microcosm of life. It's not life itself often, but it's a microcosm. We can teach empathy by a lot of teachable moments throughout sports, throughout practice, in winning and in losing, and really trying to make teammates aware that they are bigger than themselves, that the process of being on a team is bigger than themselves. And so we use a lot of terms like we instead of I in trying to teach that to our student athletes. We talk about a lot of things that happen in practice, in games, during lunchtime, during school. A lot of different things there that we can bring up during the day just to try to get the student athlete to think about it and to think about that process of being a team member in a larger sense of the community.
Well, if you can think back to when you were a teen and going through high school and coming up with all of these social situations that you find yourself in for the first time, if you've ever been new to a school and you sat there with your lunch and sat down at a table and didn't know a soul in the cafeteria, hopefully someone came over and sat with you and helped ease your pain. So that if you've ever experienced that, then when you see someone sitting by themselves, that the expectation is that someone that plays basketball for Coach Powers is going to go over there and welcome that person into the group. Same thing, if you're going out to the homecoming dance, and you need to treat your date with a certain level of respect. That those are the same kind of lessons, the same kind of things that we're talking through, so that the boys can put themselves maybe in their date's shoes. And here's this young woman who might be excited about going out with you and might not, or is thinking about, the positive things that could come from that experience. And so it's going to be up to the guy to show the proper respect for this young woman that he's taking out. And those are the kind of lessons that we really want the guys to take away from sports when they play them on our teams, is to help guide them through these difficult circumstances that we all find ourselves when we're in our teens. And ultimately, that's the power of the platform of a coach, is to help guide people through these difficult obstacles that we've all faced.
Oh, sure. Go ahead, Dan.
And one other thing to add to that, too, is a lot of people think that sports reveals character. And it really doesn't. Sports can reveal some very bad things about character. And the big thing that Coach Ehrman talks about, and the big thing that we believe in, is that coaches need to go about shaping character and shaping empathy. And there needs to be explicit dialogue about that. It can't just be expected to happen magically. It needs to be presented in a way that the kids can hear it and reach out to it.
And there's a phrase that I read in the book, a transcendent cause, and that seems to be very, very pivotal in development of a young man or a young woman. Could you explain to us a little bit about what transcendent cause is?
Yeah, transcendent cause. Coach Ehrman talks about two things, and he uses a great example. It's at the end of your life, and when you're about to die. What are you going to be thinking about? You're going to be thinking about two things. You're going to think about, one, your relationships. And he uses a ton of examples of that. And he talks a lot about, like, 9/11, for example. In 9/11, numerous people at the end of their life, when they were on those planes or they were in those buildings, they were reaching out to people to say they loved them. So the number one thing he talks about is relationships. The second thing he says is that the thing that at the end of your life that you want to know that you are a part of is something that was bigger than yourself. And he basically says a transcendent cause can be anything that you're interested in, but it's not just to benefit your own self. And so what we try to do with the kids is just try to make them aware that, one, you have to build relationships, but two, it's about finding a passion in life. And whatever it could be basketball, but most likely it's not going to be, or it could be football, but most likely it's not going to be those sports. But sports can be a small venue into building passion. And a transcendent cause is just trying to find something that gets you up every day when you wake up in the morning and you're excited about that day because you're going to try to make your life greater for somebody else.
Okay. Buck, how would a young person go about finding a transcendent cause? Is that possible?
Well, there are a lot of circumstances in life that will affect the kids, and they can build a transcendent cause out of something that would normally be seen as an adverse circumstance in their life. One of the things that happened while I was coaching at PG High is that we had a young football player named Riley McDowell that contracted a really serious form of cancer. And so he battled that for about a year and a half, in full view of our team. He didn't shrink away from his role on the football team. In fact, he took on a whole nother kind of role. He served as kind of a coach and a mentor to some of the other players that were on the team. And it became a really inspirational journey for those kids that knew Riley well. And so one of the things that wound up happening was the kids got together and decided that a great way to honor him would be to participate in the Relay for Life. And so it's a 24-hour walk to raise money for the American Cancer Society. And it was great. We had the participation of 20 to 25 players, and they called the team the Rogue Warriors. Part of that was in honor of Riley because he was such a warrior on the football field, and he battled cancer with the spirit of a warrior. So that's one way that kids can find a transcendent cause right there at their side.
That's such a touching story. That's absolutely beautiful. What can coaches do, an aspiring coach do to I don't know, somehow fulfill this philosophy or become a transformational coach? What could someone do?
I think the first thing that they do is just make the decision that that's the approach to coaching that they want to take. I would definitely recommend reading that book that Joe Ehrmann wrote, the Inside Out Coaching, because that really kind of lays it out step by step, how you can take the necessary action to become a transformational coach instead of a transactional coach. A transactional coach is a coach who is in it for a reason other than trying to build relationships with the kids. A transactional coach is worried about his record, or has gotten into coaching to relive the days that he was playing. Whereas a transformational coach really sees his role as trying to help transform the lives of the players that he happens to be coaching at that time. And I've seen it done in the basketball program at PG High too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in part, what we try to do is just stress that with our coaches in our lower levels throughout our program, is that it really starts with a look within. It really starts with, why are you coaching? Who have you been influenced in your coaching? So what scars or what good things do you carry with you? Coach Ehrmann talks a lot about that inside-out coaching, is that really you have to look within first, answer some tough questions on how you were raised, to how you were coached, try to put your narrative together. And once you have your narrative, now you're going to be able to better lead the kids that you are coaching. And one of the big questions that he talks about is, how does it feel to be coached by me? And that's a big question, and that's a hard question to answer, because often it requires your student athletes to give you some feedback in terms of that. And so it really, a lot of the process for a young coach is really trying to figure out, why are they coaching? What are they doing in terms of getting better as a coach? And that's really one of the things that we are trying to stress with the organization and program that we're kind of putting together, is there are coaches out there that want to help. There are people out there who want to help. And we really want to make coaching better here on the Monterey Peninsula. And it has nothing at all to do with X's and O's. It really has to do with the people that we're coaching and the interaction that you have with those people.
And there is an actual society or a group, a movement called Transformational Coaches of Monterey County. Buck, you're involved in that very heavily. You both are, but tell us about it, Buck.
Well, you know what? It really just started as a movement trying to bring Coach Ehrmann out to talk to the coaches of our county. And then as we started to gather more and more coaches together and kind of saw the fire starting to build, we thought that it would be nice to try to take about a 10-year vision of trying to bring these inspirational speakers that could support and inspire coaches to use sport as a venue to teach character. And so what we've done is we've started meeting about once or twice a week in the mornings, and we're raising the money that's necessary to bring Coach Ehrmann out, and he's going to be here on May 2nd at CSUMB. He'll be speaking in the gym at 7 o'clock, and the beauty of it is that we're going to raise enough money so we don't have to charge anyone a dime to come. We want coaches to show up. We want parents to come, so we can hear this powerful message and start a movement throughout our county where people will try to see themselves as coaches who can transform the lives of youth. And then we hope that the kids who are juniors and seniors in high school now will have such an incredibly positive experience with their coaches that when they start coaching, when they're 27 or 28 years old, that they'll have those positive experiences to draw on, and they'll know how to be a coach who can build character in kids.
And so then what is the ultimate goal of the transformational coaches?
Well, really, we have a 10-year goal.
Mm-hmm.
And really, Coach Ehrman talks about that in his book quite a bit, in both of the books, Season of Life and Inside Out Coaching. It's not really about immediate gain. It's not really about the immediate wins. It really is about a 10 to 15 to maybe even a 20-year process of long-term success. And as Buck just mentioned, we would like to transform how coaches coach in this area. And really, in terms of our success, not define it by the wins and losses, not define it by the league championships or even the CCS championships. It's really about the success of the young people that we coached 20 years from now. What type of parents are they 20 years from now? What type of teachers, coaches are they? What type of husband, wives are they? That's really ultimately going to determine our success. And with the group that we're forming, we're really trying to do it for the long term. We're starting with some kickoff events, but we really would like to see over the next 10 years a process in place to judge long-term success for our young people.
Now, that's great, a 10-year goal, and there's many studies that have been done that show that students who are participating in athletics are generally better students. This seems to be taking that to another level and teaching them how to relate in society, how to live, how to accomplish valuable things in their lives. And that's a pretty big job, but I have heard that the two most important factors in kids growing up these days are their parents and their coaches. Mm-hmm. And how do you two feel about that? That seems like a lot of pressure.
Well, Steve, it's a powerful statement to make, which just heightens the importance of what we're trying to do. I think that, I would welcome that as a coach, to have that kind of influence on the people that played for us. And I think that it really emphasizes the power of the platform that coaches have in, a student's life. Sports are such, powerful memory makers for our kids. And it's going to be, implanted on the minds of our kids as they go on through life, and stay with them throughout. Especially those words of someone who you are looking up to, looking for their approval, and trying to win over their respect. So knowing that you're a coach and that's kind of the lens through which the players are viewing you, I think you take that role extremely seriously, and you use it to produce as much like self-confidence and love as you possibly can in the people that play for you.
All right, tell us again about this event you've got coming up, and I'll put it on. It's on the screen. Okay, we're going to bring it up on the screen in a second. But talk a little bit about it, would you please, Dan?
Yeah, on May 2nd, we're going to bring Coach Joe Ehrman out here. He will be speaking at Cal State Monterey Bay in their gymnasium, which is nicknamed the Kelp Bed. It is going to be free to the public, to the general public. And Coach Ehrman that night will be talking about just generally the message that we just kind of went over in this half-hour program. And he's going to try to just bring about at least a seed of change in Monterey Peninsula. We then hope to then bring him back later in the year and have him come out for a second time where he can work a little bit more hands-on with the area varsity coaches, and so that they can see a little bit more of his program up close.
And an email address, can somebody reach out to you by email? Do you welcome that?
Sure, they can contact us at www.transformationalcoachesmc.com, and they can also email me if they'd like to at brogge3@gmail.com.
Fantastic. Dan Powers, Buck Rogerman, thank you so much for being with us. Great show, wonderful movement. Thank you for taking our kids in hand and leading them down a very, very important path. I'd like to thank you, too, for watching Your Community Television. We will be back next week with a new show. Bye-bye now.